Hey guys, this is acute versus chronic telogen effluvium. If you ever wonder about the differences about each of those things, what it is, and why is it causing so much trouble right now in terms of hair loss, you want to learn about that and more, ladies and gentlemen, you have to stay connected. You have to stay here at the Hair Wire. And welcome, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Hair Wire, the place where you, my friends, get hair smart. I'm your host, Sergio Cardona, alongside with Carrie Jarrett and Biz San Dipsy. How you guys are doing?
Great, great,
Good.
great. We're preparing for the summer. Summer is coming, and the summer in Florida is really hot.
Actually, there's a funny thing about heat, and a lot of people say that during the months where we experience the most heat, we see a lot of people experiencing intelligent effluvium, and some
Hmm.
people they like to say that it's a seasonal shedding. Is it really seasonal shedding or is it intelligent effluvium? What's happening? You know, we have to discuss about that and more, guys. So again, thank you for tuning in week after week and making this show your source for continuous education, and of course, the place where we get hair smart, guys. We have been a while away for a while, and I was missing you. I was missing you guys. So
Yes,
please send your love, send your thumbs up, and your comments. Say hi, I'm here. In fact, say just type number one. If you're here, just type number one. Send a message. Let us know that you're connected here with the Hair Wire. Let us know how are things going in your neck of the woods, and of course, we want to learn about what's happening with your hair. So, if you have your hair story and you want to share it with us, comment on the section below. We want to see your comments, and we want to read them out. We want to see, what's happening with your hair. If we can help and do something about it right now, we will. We will. So start commenting right now because we want to see those comments, and we want to make this show very interactive for each and every one of us. So first things first, what's telogen effluvium? What's that about telogen effluvium? What is it, telogen effluvium?
okay, I'll go. You left it open, so I'll go. So, Telogen effluvium, it is like basically an umbrella word about hair shedding. So
Yep.
usually the only most distinctive characteristics of Telogen effluvium is a lot of shedding, sudden shedding, severe shedding, a lot of amount of shedding all at once. And that's what we call acute telogen effluvium. Like it just happened all at once within 2, 3 months, a lot of hair will shed all at once. However, there's another very subtle kind of telogen effluvium, and that is actually the more dangerous type of it, in my opinion. It's called the chronic telogen effluvium, where the person is shedding continuously, but since you don't see them physically in front of you, the amount of hair shed is little bit more than normal, but still not as much as when you see it with acute telogen effluvium. That's why some people will miss that they're having chronic telogen effluvium, and years later there's like, oh, my ponytail is very thin. I've lost hair, but I don't know when that happened. And this is more dangerous, in my opinion, because we cannot track back the trigger because we don't really know what happened or when it started. And it could be when we talk about chronic telogen effluvium, it could actually happen so many triggers along the way kept the hair cycle intelligent, which is the shedding, in the resting phase, but it sheds the hair basically, and we can't really pinpoint where is the root cause of it. Versus the acute telogen effluvium, it happens so suddenly, so fast, so visible, so much of hair shed that we can go back to it and see where is the trigger. And as you all know, the trigger or the root cause, this is when you find the root cause, address the root cause, this is when you actually reverse your hair loss.
Yes, and I like what you mentioned. About addressing those particular issues, and once we are able to, of course, we will see that the shedding actually stops. That shedding gets under control, and that's the opportunity that we have to actually start regrowing hair. afterwards. So the key with Telogen Effluvium will always be, identifying the trigger. But as you mentioned, sometimes the trigger are kind of hard to understand or to figure it out. That's why sometimes we have people experiencing Telogen Effluvium for longer periods of time. Now, Carrie, I want to go with you about your experiencing behind the chair, because it's very hard to explain sometimes what it is that people are experiencing, and the only thing that they will say is, I'm losing my hair. So is it really just hair loss? Is it thinning? Is it a combination? How do you see it behind the chair?
Well, everybody, first off, behind the chair, I also make sure that I'm hearing what they're saying because everybody will interpret it differently and transcribe
Hmm.
it to you differently. So I make sure first I'm on the same wavelength of what they're trying to explain because, quite honestly, 1 inch to me is completely different to 1 inch is to you, especially when you're cutting. We get that all the time. I just want 1 inch. I'm in there like 1 centimeter. So we want to make sure that we're on the same page on what they're
Yeah.
seeing and what they're experiencing. And so for me, behind the chair is to ask those questions, like how often is it happening? Are you noticing it more at night, evening? Are you noticing every time you touch your hair, every time you brush your hair? How often are you showering? You know, I do also notice a lot of them will stop washing their hair as often when they start noticing the hair shed. But the
Yeah.
thing is when you do that, the hair that would have shed that you would have brushed out or washed out is now staying entangled into the hair that you haven't washed yet. So of course it's accumulating and piling up, and then it looks more than it is when you do wash it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm losing all my hair. So you want to make sure you're deep diving and asking all the right questions to make sure to find out what's happening. And then of course be aware of what's happening. Like, did anything change? Did you go on a trip? Is it season change? Like, ask all those questions. So with clients, a lot of them even like ponytail over time. My ponytail used to be this thick. Now it's this thin. Have you noticed that too? And I also too, if I have clients that I've had on repeat for many years, I have a relationship with their hair. I look at their hair as much as my own hair as I do their hair. So I'll even say, yeah, your hair is thinning. Let's ask questions because sometimes it may happen very slowly as well. So yeah.
No, definitely, definitely, and I like, what you're bringing in, because whenever people are experiencing anything wrong with their hair, we need to be able to ask questions in order to get to a real answer. Because unfortunately, we see a lot of people jump into conclusions without having the proper evaluation, and it's not just having a couple of symptoms and go to Google and have an AI telling me what my diagnosis is, when in fact I'm just collecting a few bits and pieces of information that not necessarily mean and that I'm actually experiencing something in particular. And this is where it comes to differentiating between Telogen Effluvium and other types of hair loss, because unfortunately we don't know. The general people don't know the differences of those, and usually start saying, well, I think it's kind of patchy. And I get this a lot. A lot of people say, I'm having patchy hair loss. And I'm looking at this ain't patchy. This is called diffuse. And be like, no, 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 it's just patchy because this is in a particular area. I'm like, yes, if you ever seen the alopecia areata, you will know what patchy is. This is not it. This is just diffuse in a particular area. And they'd be like, no, no, but this is patchy. I'm like, I'm the trichologist. I'm telling you, this is not patchy. So it's about going back to differentiating things and learning about what it is and what it's not. And one of the things that I always like to go for whenever I'm doing a diagnosis is, I like to compare, as I'm looking to what it is. I also want to rule out what is not, and that method actually helps me a lot to actually understand what I'm seeing, because sometimes we don't get a full profile of what it is, but definitely we can rule out what is not. And by ruling out what is not, I'm able to lean forward more to some type of diagnosis, in terms of what I believe is more likely to be. So when, as I was saying, whenever we talk about intelligent fluvium is a big umbrella of a term, because it picks up so many definitions at the same time, and we're constantly battling about what it is. Now, today's show, it's about differentiating between acute and, of course, uh, chronic telogen effluvium. Now, Biz, you mentioned the key, basically definition as it is right now, as it been laid out commonly, is the basically the 6 months mark. If it has less than 6 months, it's acute. If it has more than 6 months, basically is it chronic. Now, one of the things that I have been learning over the years, and maybe you might agree with me or not, but I believe that it's not just about the time. I like to consider the amount of hair that we have lost. Um, because if, for me, if I see someone and they may have been experiencing intelligent fluvium, let's say for a year, yet the amount of hair that they have lost is less than 50%, I will not call that chronic at all. Because sometimes in the process, as we are shedding, we are regrowing, but unfortunately, the type of hair that regrows is thinner. Now, what would you say about those? How do you find yourself when you're in that situation when you see someone who it has gone for more than 6 months, yet the amount of hair that they have lost is not that significant? Um, what do you think about that, Biz?
So yeah, recently, it like basically one of my clients, actually, that's one of my clients told me that, and she swore to God that her telogen effluvium started 2 weeks after she after a certain trigger, and I said, okay. And she's like, my two daughters are as well. So I went, if you guys saw it, I went to our Telogen Effluvium support group and I asked this question. I wanted to see how many people actually experience a very acute Telogen Effluvium episode 2 weeks after a trigger. And the amount of replies were overwhelming. We had a lot of people, because after all, hair loss is it's personalized experience, right?
Yes.
So it's not a textbook thing. It's not, and also the trichology has been evolving for the past 10 years, and we as the hair wire, we are evolving with that, and we keep learning, and we keep advancing our skills, and we keep advancing our tools to understand or to keep up with the changing definitions of what, like, let us say telogen effluvium as our as we are talking today about. So in any way, when I talked to when I asked these questions in a group with 11,000 people, we got a lot of answers back that yes, is this a thing that my telogen effluvium started 2 weeks after this, after that, after this? So I did more little bit of digging, and in fact, there is a couple of PubMed publications. Unfortunately, that as we know that trichology doesn't have a lot of noise out there, but there was a lot of, or not a lot, a few of PubMed publications saying that, or proving that a telogen effluvium episode can happen 2 weeks after. So I compiled a list. So please go into our Telogen Effluvium group, join if you're not even there yet.
Yes.
Join, ask for a request to join, and there is a list. I compiled a list over there that we will put on our Hairwire website soon. What kind of medications, what kinds of triggers that can cause a 2 week telogen effluvium episode. And why is important? Why this is important? This is important because when we are trying to we are trying to treat telogen effluvium, we want to know where the trigger is. So
Yes.
as what Sergio was saying, there's two things, right? Chronic and acute. Now, actually, I want to redefine this and say we have chronic telogen effluvium, acute telogen effluvium, and super acute telogen effluvium. Let's think about the better word than super, like a very fast or fast telogen effluvium. I don't know. We're gonna rename it anyway or add a category to it. What are the difference between three, and why is important for you as a client and us as trichologists to identify the difference between these three? Chronic telogen effluvium, it is happening over time. Yes, the amount of hair shed maybe will be less because it is spread over time. It's like a marathon of telogen effluvium, not a sprint of a telogen effluvium. Let's say that, sprint and trace track. I
Yeah.
like that. So over time. And as I was saying before, the chronic telogen effluvium, actually it's more dangerous because the trigger can happen years ago, and during that time many small triggers can happen too. So when it comes to treatment plan, we have to address many root causes versus one root cause for the telogen effluvium
Yep.
acute one, right? So
Yes.
the second part of it is that the amount of shedding with the acute telogen effluvium is way bigger, is way more significant, and it's actually more traumatizing. And that will put the client or the person who is having this telogen effluvium episode on a fast track for another episode of telogen
Yeah.
effluvium that is the fast one that can happen 2 weeks later.
Yep. And
You see where I'm going with
yeah,
that?
because
Yeah.
the thing is, as you mentioned, you see one cycle after the other, and you're not in the middle of the first cycle when you have another shedding event and another. And for
100%.
the patient, it looks like a prolonged event,
Correct.
not as multiple events, but as one single event that has been happening for quite some time. And for ourselves, we who understand this process, we see this as many episodes happening simultaneously or one
Correct.
after the other. And that is why we know what Bisan is saying. When we're treating, we're not just treating what started this. We're treating what started it, what continued it, and what happened next, and the next, and the next. All of those little fires that had been happening at the same time, we're covering each of those bases. Because, as you mentioned, we had a first event for whatever reason. We
Right.
get stressed. Then we start making changes in our diet. Then we start making changes in our habits. Then we start making, and we see, the pile events one after the other. Now, Carrie, what can you tell us about this? Because we see the complexity, people's behavior towards their hair loss. You see that they want to do quick fixes, and unfortunately, sometimes those quick fixes or things that they believe that can help them actually are not, and actually making it worse for them.
Yeah, and especially if you don't know what you're doing, if you're medicating it. You see a lot of these quick fixes that fix, oh, it worked for me, it's going to work for you. But you have
Yeah.
to remember, it's not a one size fits all world. So when you have somebody that works for you, maybe it happened to work for them based on what their body needed. Maybe they were lacking the mineral or the vitamin that product offered, but then you try what they did and your hair falls out, or maybe it worked for 6 months and your hair starts falling out, or you start gaining weight, or you get jaundice or whatever. There's a whole list of things that can happen, but your body chemistry didn't need that. Now it's going to be counterintuitive. So you got to make sure that you're doing the right research for you. And why is your hair falling out? Like, is it because you change your medication? Is it because you had a diet? Is it because you had a loss in the family? Is it because you're low in iron? So you want to make sure you write those right questions, and not because it worked for your best friend does not mean it's going to work for you. Right now, I get so many clips people send me that they tried a particular product and now they're in the hospital and they're having liver failure. So you want to make sure you're doing yourself the right research, right? So
Yeah.
I see it all too often. Yeah, you could
Mhm.
fix it temporarily, absolutely, but long term, the hair will fall back out, or you could cause even more damage. So you want to be very careful. Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely, you want to be very careful on that. Now, let's go back a few notches because people are going, okay, I understand that I'm losing my hair, but what's normal? What's normal?
What's normal is very personalized. That's why I say trichologist people are we are very detail oriented people, because we have to, otherwise we can miss the slightest changes, and any slight changes in between one client to another, it makes a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Because answering your question, what is normal for me is different than what is normal for you, what's normal for Carrie. Let's take myself as an example. I like normally my shedding will be around 50 hairs. That's my normal in a way, okay? And don't forget, my hair is long. So 50 hairs for me, long, looks way more visually than 50 hairs of Sergio's hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do wash my hair regularly every other day. like regularly speaking. Of course, if I go for a workout or something like that, I will wash again, but just generally speaking. So, and I comb my hair every day in the morning over the sink. So I know that, so there's three factors here. How many times I am washing my hair regularly, how many times I'm combing my hair, and how much I'm losing hair in the sink, right? Because if I comb my hair twice a day, then all the telogen hairs that should go, it's gonna go over 2 period of times versus 1 period of time, which is in the morning when I comb it only once. If I wash my hair today and tomorrow, I'm gonna lose 25 today and 25 hairs tomorrow versus just losing hair 50 hairs tomorrow. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So whenever you as a person losing hair, thinking about your hair loss, try to put, you're going to be your own research, guys. Try to put a foundation. A foundation with all the denominator factors are all equal, which is how many times you're washing your hair per week. And the second denominator is how many times you're combing, and do that every single week, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, so you can know exactly how much hair loss that is normal for you. And we should have been doing that long time ago, because by now all of us have reoccurring telogen effluviums here and there. The kids are going to school. I don't have a babysitter. What's that? What's this? All of these changing. So for me, let's go back to the foundation. 50 hairs a day, that is my foundation, right? I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on days where I got stressed out, or where I have changes in diet, I didn't eat well, something happened to me, I got the flu, my daughter got the flu, then I will start seeing 100 hairs in the sink. And we thought if we go back 6 months or 4 months, we can see the trigger, what happened that. But recently, the science and the experiences are showing us, even though go back 2 weeks or 6 weeks and see what happened to address that trigger, basically. And the time you see the trigger or you understand the trigger, the solution is good. That's why for you, ladies and gentlemen who are hearing out there, if you don't know how much is normal for you, you should start trying to understand how much is normal for you. So that's one first factor, is what is normal for me is not normal for you, and so on. And the second factor is how resilient your body is versus insults from outside, the environments, food, and all of that. So you have also to take that into consideration, how strong you are. Some people are very sensitive to toxins. Some people can take more toxins, depending on how resilient your liver is, and so on.
I want to jump into that because it was basically COVID that taught us about this particularly, because
Right.
we saw people getting COVID, and 1 week afterwards, you start
Right.
seeing the shedding.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, again, to your point, we have been told for years in school that um, whenever we face a effluvium event, a shedding event that happens around 2 weeks after an event, it's called anagen effluvium. But whenever we look at what anagen effluvium is, we have basically the type of shedding that goes after chemotherapy, the type of shedding that goes after alopecia areata, the type of shedding that goes with loose anagen syndrome. Um, After that, and then we have a void in time that is not filled with either anagen effluvium or telogen effluvium, because they don't fit the definition, the old definitions. So we have to readjust the criteria, and I'm talking to the professionals right now. We need to readjust. We need to redefine actually when the telogen effluvium happens, and what's causing the telogen effluvium might actually give us the definition for it. Because when you look at, for instance, how the body reacts on after chemotherapy or after an event that may cause alopecia areata or loose anagen syndrome, they fit a particular criteria, versus when you go to the umbrella type of events that follow telogen effluvium, you see that more than just the timing, The type of hair shedding is what drives you to understand better or to redefine better the type of telogen effluvium or the fluvium, the type of shedding that the client is experiencing, and it becomes confusing sometimes, and even for professionals. And this is one of the biggest mysteries here, because sometimes we become so orthodox to criterias that if the criteria is not 100% fit, then doctors will rule out things. And this is what I mentioned in the beginning. I'm looking at what it is, but I'm also looking at what is not. And
Right.
the most
100%.
the most how we say, if maybe it's not 100%, but it is 60% of what I'm thinking, and 60% right now is good enough for me to understand that that's a telogen fluvium. It's not 100% that I need, but enough to, if I have to rule out all the big ones, I'm going to call that telogen fluvium. Until otherwise, I see signs throughout my instruments, to the different studies that will show me that I'm looking at something else. I'm going to call it that, because I need something that fits the most of the criteria. Not all of it, but at least most of it. And that's something that we as professionals, we need to understand. And we need to come together and redefine this, because telogen effluvium is such a huge term that unfortunately we will see many things do not fit.
Yeah.
We need to accommodate it. Now, another problem with telogen effluvium is treatment, because unfortunately there's no one particular treatment for telogen effluvium. This is where it becomes complicated, because based upon the root cause of the event is the type of treatment that you will choose. Now, Carrie, talk to us about, for instance, treatments. Now you go and do your epigenetic testing. Now you understand the root causes. How do you decide on treatment?
Well, treatment, well, definitely it has to do with like what type of hair loss you're struggling with, what was the root cause of it, and how to correct it. Sometimes it's as simple as adding more hydration to your body and analyzing if you have enough mineral in there. Or if it's a treatment that you need to do interventive, like use TED or laser, that's when you would use that machine. Because again, it's not going to work on all of the different hair loss types. You want to make sure you're having the correct one. But the best solution is getting to the root cause, what's causing it, what's triggering it, and let's correct that. And a lot of times too, and majority of the time, it's usually gut health or stress related. And sometimes it's just, correcting that and then using interventive to speed up the new growth and to get more growth happening again. So I don't know how to answer that any more than that. Like,
Yeah, because it will depend. How about you, Biz?
Repeat the question again.
About treatments when it comes
Okay.
to telogen effluvium.
Yeah, she said it right. It's actually the minute you address the root cause internally. So the treatment should be internally and externally, right? I would say 50% importance is internally and 50% external. They are equally important. You have to do both. You cannot do one and miss the other. It's just useless.
Yeah.
So the internal part is exactly going back to the internal, to the trigger, figuring out what is the root cause of it, and address it with like diet, supplements, exercise, epigenetics, which is the lifestyle factors in a way, and which is most people these days are missing because of our lifestyle changes so much radically in the past decade or even 2 decades in a way. And now 2 decades later, after we sit in front of computers and we eat chemical food and toxins around us all the time, 2 decades later, we started having a lot of chronic issues, a lot of chronic diseases, and chronic telogen effluvium is one of them, because chronic telogen effluvium is a translation of a chronic disease you have.
Yeah,
right?
and it's all connected, you guys. Like, everybody, when you say and go into that whole mind, body, spirit talk, everybody's like, ooh, mysticism, I don't want anything to do with it. But if you look at all of the different holistic practices, functional practice, and even general practice now, I'm seeing it more and more. Think about this way. If you have a stomach ache, is it because what you ate or because you're nervous about something happening that's happening to you?
True.
Which is stress, mental stress. So mind connects to body and spirit. Like, maybe, are you depressed because you have no purpose? Are you chasing dopamine rather than your purpose? and that's going to cause depression, and that depression is going to cause you a lack of eating or gut health issues. And our gut, we're now discovering in a lot of medicine, is that our gut is a second brain. So if our gut is in distress and upset, it's not going to be able to distribute the nutrients to where it goes. So it's not going to give the nutrients to the brain, and if it's not, the brain's not getting nutrients, you're going to get mental health, and it's going to cause stress. And it just, see the spiral effect that I'm getting. Mind, body, spirit is connected. It's not a holistic voodoo hippie language. It is legit, or it's all connected. Mind, body, spirit. And we're in a world where we're chasing dopamine over purpose. We're eating food because it's getting us more time. We're chasing money versus quality of time. Time's not replaceable, money is. But we're in this world where it's like chase, 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 hit, 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 fix, 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 not getting to the root cause and living fulfilling. And of course, that's going to cause health issues. It comes out in your body. You are what you eat. So you're going to have hair falling out because you're not taking care of what really matters, and that's your health. You.
Yes.
You.
Definitely.
And that is why we have a movement now. And that's why we have a movement now, whole body movement. It's called whole body movement, functional medicine movement.
Yeah.
Which is necessary. This is necessary nowadays. Now, I wanted to bring in the other side of the subject. What about those who experience the shedding, they do nothing, and yet the shedding stops by itself?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Happen.
Why is that?
It can happen. It can happen.
Why a lot of people have to go through such painful Telogen Effluvium events while others go through it like it was nothing?
Mm-hmm.
I find a lot of times with this, depending on the person, how they take on the stress. And I've seen this happen in many different scenarios where either it just happened really quick and it just stopped, but they didn't really notice, they didn't pay much attention, so they didn't stress about it. And they didn't throw everything in the sink to try and fix it.
And it's still an effluvium event.
And it's still a Telogen Effluvium event, and they get stressed about it. They rided it out, but they didn't get worked up about it. Then I see those ones that it's like chronic, and it's like they're throwing everything in the sink, trying to fix it and stressing. And of course, the whole ripple effect is that stress is causing mental havoc, gut health issues, and creating a whole another ball of stress in there. And of course, it's not getting fixed because you're trying everything. And when you try everything and you regurgitate your system, of course, you're going to lose more hair. That's just the way it happens. I have a lot of friends that are dietitians and naturopaths. And a lot of times when you do a cleanse too long or not correctly, or if you're regurgitating the system, sometimes you can have hair shed. So, it's just being aware of what could happen. So
now, you mentioned something about being aware, and Biz, I want you to jump into this one, because the thing is, sometimes we're not aware of what's normal for us, and once we realize what's normal for us, we get so aware of it to the point where we stress about how much more hair we're shedding or how much less we're shedding, because it becomes conflicted sometimes. People who has no Telogen Effluvium, yet they are so aware of these subjects that it becomes so aggressive, and they start experiencing other forms of hair loss due to how they worked up inside, and they try to correct something that does not need to be fixed.
Yes,
What do you say about
because
that?
we can be our own worst enemy or our own worst friend, our own best friend, our own worst friend.
Yeah, it can be the worst, can be the best friend. That's for sure.
Yes. So in a way that, and this is how we, like Carrie was saying, that we should consciously know ourselves. We consciously should know our foundation. And it is nothing wrong if we don't have a strong foundation and we start to building up in our adulthood. Not all of us, like we were very fortunate to have strong childhood foundation, and that's okay. This is part of life. As we become adults, we should just go and search for it and see where it is. Build a strong foundation, build resilience. We as a human beings, we lost our resilience because we started to be very how do you say that, dependent on technology.
Yeah, it was kind of freeze over there. But it's interesting.
Dependent on, will correct my paragraph.
Biz, you're coming on and off. I don't know if you can hear us. But again, um, we have become so dependent on to information technology and things that are moving around us that it consumes you,
Right.
to a point where unfortunately we start seeing things where they're not supposed to. We're seeing things that are not there, period.
Right,
and,
and
and
this is the new era we are living in. We are living in an era of technology, right? We are living in an era where we can see other people live from a lens that is very filtered. So in a way that messes up with our brains, it messes up with our purpose, it messes up with our resilience. There's like this is basically the pandemic that our new generation, the younger generation now is facing. And this is, we're going to face a lot of telogen effluvium coming back from it because of lack of foundation and lack of resilience in a way. Going back to your point, in a way that when we are obsessed with something, and going back to energy, Kerry, it will happen to us.
Yep, 100%. Now, Basan, okay, so I'm going to announce our little feed that you're helping me with.
Yes.
So those are too, like, are asking, I'll go like, how do I know? What do I look for? What, how do I be more self-aware? And with trichology practice, Sergio Pisana and I have talked about this on a number of occasions, is that the amount of people that aren't aware of their own body or self-aware, or expect somebody to tell them how they're supposed to feel or what to look for, it's blows my mind. So Bisan and I have been working, and everybody asks us to talk about epigenetics and stuff. So actually I've been working on a course which we're going to be offering. I'm making one for patron access and one for professionals as well. So two different versions, which Bisan has been already helping me. Sergio, I'll be getting you in there to help me too. But it will be an entry level for the professionals, but it's going to be called the sensory shift, where we're going to talk about the senses and just have those sensory cues and what to look for, and those little triggers, and how to look for it and navigate it, so you're more self-aware and more intuitively involved in your own body of what's going on, so you can kind of figure out what those triggers are, especially with food and purpose. And Sergio has a lot to bring that too, with like just that mindset piece. Like, it's just really understanding that. So we will have that available hopefully by end of spring or end of fall, going into fall, because we're launching our school first. But once that school's launched, that is one of the entry level programs which we'll have available both for patron, and then a different version, more a higher level one for the professionals. So that is in the works, because you're like, well, how am I supposed to know how I'm supposed to feel? Well, you should know how you feel. Like, sit in right now and just be more observant and analyze, like, is my stomach ache because I ate? Or is it because something's bothering me? What's bothering me? What's triggering me? And it's funny because I'm so aware now myself and things. Like, if I'm procrastinating, I'm like, why am I procrastinating? What's bothering me that I can't get this job done?
yeah,
So yeah, it could be my ADHD, but it's not always. Sometimes it's something that's actually really affect me, and I need to get it off my chest, and that may cause the stress in what I'm doing. So
definitely.
yeah.
We need to stay connected, guys. We need to stay connected. That's all that we have for today. Please visit our website, thehairwire.com, and uh, stay tuned, stay connected, because things are moving in the hairwire world. And we're going to be launching very soon our educational program for everyone. So you have to subscribe. Actually, we're going to be working on that, so people can start subscribing, get on the list basically. And once our programs are ready to launch, you'll be the first ones to get the notification. And of course, you can start training with us here with the Hairwire and the Faculty of Hair Loss. So, my friends,
Hey,
this is an amazing time.
and
Yes.
real quick, I'm posting, Spasan and I both posted the application. If you're a professional, we are right now, the website will be up by the end of the week, the new one for patron access. But on the back end, we do have a membership, which will be free. But we will have tiered levels, and the way we're just setting that all up, but we're not making it live until we have a good list of applicants involved before we post it. So I have posted the application. So if you are a professional, this is for professionals, please go to that application, fill it out, so then that way we could add it to our list, and when it's ready to go live, we will add you based on your credentials, because we want to make sure we're putting people in the right groups where they need to be, because of course there's cosmetology trichology, general practice trichology, all of it. So we want to make sure we know who we're catering to who and what we need, and we will be posting all those professional trichology topics in business, marketing, networking, all of that. So make sure you go to that application and submit it today.
It's gonna be awesome, guys. Start filling up your application today. It's the best thing that you're gonna be doing your whole life. The course that the quality, the time, what have been put to this course is just amazing. And the many courses, because it's not just one course. We have we're gonna be launching like 20 things at the same time, but it's gonna be amazing. And the thing is that you want to learn. You're really committed. You really want to move your career. If you're professional, if you're a patron, you really want to understand what's happening with your hair. This is the people you want to connect to. You want to connect with the hair wire. You want to stay connected with us, and definitely you want to stay up with the latest. So go visit right now, thehairwire.com, and of course go to all of our social media platforms. Give us a like, follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course we want to see your comments. We want to connect with you. So if you have any questions, please let us know. We were here for you guys. Biz, anything you want to add before we go?
Just check our website. We have a lot and a lot coming up for you.
Yes, we do. We do have a lot of things coming up for you guys. That's all that we have for today. God bless you all. Till next time. Bye-bye.